courteous. This should not be a problem with the audience that we're working with here. I do want to keep an open conversation. This is not me giving a speech, or this is not me, doing training. A lot of times you see training where they, ask you to put something in the chat if you have a question. Certainly keep your mics muted, but if you do have a question, I'd be happy to hear from you. I'd be happy to see you. So feel as comfortable as you can having that open conversation. But if you are not talking, do please mute your microphone. But again, if your comfort zone is talking, please go ahead and talk when you have a question or a comment. Feel free to throw it in the chat if that's your medium of choice. So it's been a pretty good turnout. Why don't we get started here? So again, thank you for being here. For those who don't know, and hopefully everybody does by now, my name is Jason Ruffalo. I'm running for House of Representatives in District 35B. I'm sure I met each of you at least briefly at the caucus. And I really want to take this time to let you get to know me, my ideas, my policies. Obviously, you might have questions about how the campaign's being run, because right now we'd be out knocking doors. That's not going to happen in the foreseeable future. There's a potentiality that it doesn't happen at all, but we're kind of prepared for both situations. I want to quickly introduce my team. I don't want to put them on the spot. They don't have to say anything, but we have this really energetic and ambitious team that has really kind of kept this whole thing afloat with me while we've gone through this transition from a traditional campaign to what's now increasingly becoming a virtual campaign. And I think most of them are on, if not all, but Brad is my campaign manager. A few of them were at my kickoff, so you might recognize some names here. Christy's on, she's my treasurer. We have Dave, who is my van manager. Rachel's running communications with me. Marty and Matt are our research team, and Sydney's running the social media aspect of our campaign. So it's been a bit of a rough couple of weeks for everybody, but in terms of the campaign, we've managed to turn this around in a pretty quick fashion. I think we're being very mindful about the changes we're making and the things that we are going to do to adapt to the situation we're in. I do want to take a quick minute to give you a background of my own, kind of the why I'm running. We do have some updates in terms of our opponent, Peggy Scott, which we won't spend too much time on, but she's been a little uppity in the House since this whole COVID-19's taken over. And then seriously, I want to hear from you. I want to hear what your ideas are for a candidate. I want to hear really what you've been doing throughout the COVID-19 crisis, how you've adapted to that. Any concerns you have going into November, anything that you'd like to see from our team. We do have a strong research team. We'll get to the website. We have a lot of COVID information on the website, which we'll get to in due time. But I really want to make this a conversation, right? This is not me talking to you, but beyond me giving a little intro, let's open up the mics and have a conversation, right? So again, my name is Jason Ruffalo. I come from Racine, Wisconsin. I was in the food and beverage industry in Wisconsin for about 10 years before I started going to college. So a little late start to the college scene. I think it was 26 when I started. I was very lucky that Wisconsin has two fantastic programs revolving around healthcare and education. So because of those, I was able to boost my college career. I went on to get a bachelor's of electrical engineering from the Milwaukee School of Engineering. And there was a healthcare program which kind of solidified my financial side for anything healthcare needed. I will nearly guarantee you that without those two programs, I would not have graduated college. I would not be here right now. So I'm lucky to be a part of an example of what can happen when you throw somebody a rope and give them a chance, to tap into their potential. So I moved here about 10 years ago. Immediately got into a lot of community nonprofits. So you look at things like the MS Society, the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, Habitat for Humanity, the United Way. I'm not going to give you a resume, but this was a very important part of me being, a contributing member of society, right? Really engaging the community, fundraising for a lot of these organizations, donating to them, becoming members, and just really kind of diving in feet first to the community side of Minnesota. On the other side, as an engineer, I have critical thinking skills. I know how to diagnose issues. So I do think I have a pretty good set of tools in my belt to run 35B. We know how to gather information. We know how to analyze it. We know how to organize it, find redundancies. So I think between the ability to diagnose issues and repair things, which is the engineer in me, and the passion for, you know, reaching out to the community, it's something that we really need, especially at this moment in time. I don't want to run a fear-based campaign, and I refuse to run a fear-based campaign. But the reality is we're in a really strange point in our lives and in time with respect to the government, where the media is under fire and bipartisanship is at an all-time high. So that's why I threw my hat in the ring. It seemed like the right time. I was the beneficiary of some good opportunities and networking that got me to where I'm at. And I'm fully dedicated to this, and my team is fully dedicated to this. I couldn't do this without my team. I won't be able to do this without each and every one of you on the call. But it's something we can accomplish. And as we innovate ways to reach out to new members of 35B, as much as I'm not happy about how we have to renegotiate the campaign, I think it's going to allow us to open new doors in terms of outreach. And it's going to be a very powerful tool for bringing in younger voters and people who haven't voted before. I have to talk about Peggy Scott just for a little bit, because a lot of what she's been doing behind the scenes, well, not really behind the scenes, but on the floor, has been, to me, unnecessary and a little insulting. My team has done a great job putting resources out to 35B. We'll get to my website in a bit, but we put resources out regarding overall numbers on Minnesota and the United States and trends for COVID-19. We have resources for District 35, where to go in terms of unemployment, healthcare, food banks. We'll send links. We'll put links in the chat for your reference as well before this meeting's over. We donated over 300 masks to the Minnesota Nurses Association, Healthcare for the Homeless, and Project Home. So we kind of jumped in head first to this COVID crisis, put the campaign on pause for a few weeks, partly to reorganize, but just to make sure that people have what they need. Part of leadership starts and ends on a daily basis with being engaged in the community. And so we took that on head first. Peggy Scott, by contrast, the only thing she's done, she's not reached out to her community. What she has done is she introduced a bill on the floor about a week and a half ago that would classify Planned Parenthood as a non-essential business. And this conversation is not about pro-abortion or otherwise. That it's really, is that the best thing we can be doing for 35B at this time? So she is not engaged, and she's largely, and she stated this, only trying to work for the part of her community that's going to vote for her. She does not care about all 35B. She cares about the people that support her and only her. So this is why we need change, because everybody, yeah, you're right, Tom, thank you, needs to be represented. That's what a representative does, and that's why we're here to step in and do this. So that's a little bit of my background. I just wanted to give you a quick Peggy update, let you know how we're handling the COVID crisis. It does look like we're doing well. If you didn't know, Minnesota has the fewest infections per capita of any state in the United States, which is fantastic. There's been a lot of backlash from the other side about that. Let us out, you know, it's Hitler, of course, you got to throw those terms around. But I will tell you, first and foremost, I am very proud about how our government's handled this. I think we are going to see fewer deaths than any state per capita. We are keeping this minimized. That means we can probably start lessening the restrictions. I know we're still on for May 4th, and that's understandable. It looks like the Mayo Clinic's now able to test 8,000 people. They're really lining up the hospitals with Governor Walz's view of when we can start opening the doors again. So we are on the right track, and I'm very excited to hear that. I do want to refer you again to my website for these types of updates. Know it's there. I will put that in the chat in a little bit. But that is my COVID update. I think at this point, I've said my piece about me, I've said my piece about our district, and I've said my piece about Peggy Scott. Let's take a few questions if you don't mind. And I'd like to hear, one, what are you looking for in your representative? We can talk, you know, education. We can talk really anything you want. But if there are specifics that need attention, I certainly want to hear it. And again, I think Peter, you came off mute. I'm getting echo from that.
Peter. Jason, it's Patty.
Is it Patty? Okay.
Yes. Okay, sorry. I just have a question. I'm wondering if you have heard from any of the unions and are going to interview with any of the unions, or if they put that off, or how that's going to be. And the reason I'm asking that is on the news tonight, they had a little story about people, some of the workers in Michigan are out protesting in their pickup trucks about the shutdown and say, we want to go back to work. And I'm just wondering what the unions in our area are thinking, what their workers are thinking. And if, you know, if have they contacted you?
No, it's kind of been a bit of radio silence with respect to unions and endorsements as a whole. I think what happened was, like, I had just started getting into the endorsement phase of the campaign and starting to reach out to unions. And that's right when this whole thing turned. So I do need to reach back out to them because I want to keep in contact with them outside of the endorsement. Again, the same way I'm trying to keep in contact with 35B like we're doing right now. I will make that a priority in the next week just to keep in touch because I'd like to see how this is being handled. I know job security is at an utmost priority for a lot of people right now. The short answer, Patty, is no. I have not heard anything from anyone. I will be reaching out to them. I'm not trying to push the endorsement at this point, but let's see how things are. Is there anything that we can do, or what do they need, or what, you know, how does this change their approach to what they're looking for? At a state level, right?
Deanne here, and I have close contacts with the labor unions, in particular, Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation. I can talk to Graham and Casey and ask about their endorsing policy, and also Val Holtis, who lives in Andover and is head of Anoka Hennepin Education, Minnesota. And I will talk to them and see what they're planning to do on the endorsement.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, Deanne. And again, I'd like to reach out just to see how things are going overall as well.
I have one other thing that I want, and then I'll be quiet here. Jason, you and I had talked about George Lakoff and the framing. And at that time, I told you George Green is his apostle here in Minnesota. If you are interested in framing for your literature, for your website, because of the coronavirus, I recently got an email from George saying he will help campaigns for nothing.
Okay.
So I will send you, it's Connections Lab. And I will send you that email address and or contact info. And it would really help for your website, door to door, or whatever.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I actually have his webpage bookmarked.
Oh, you do?
I don't know if there's a specific email I need to know about beyond that, but I am aware of his webpage at least.
Yeah, and that he's doing it for free is important now.
Okay. No, that's fantastic. I appreciate the update, Deanne.
That's all.
All right, thanks. All right, let's start out with a quick icebreaker. Let's just have a few people chat about what you guys have been doing with your extra time, if you have it. I know some of us are you know, trying to find new hobbies. Wes, I don't want to call you out, but Wes has recently found the opera. He and I had a chat a couple weeks ago about that. I will start with this because I've been waiting to show somebody this, but I've gotten into 3D puzzles. This is a fully functioning 3D puzzle. It has gears and everything that move. It's actually called a marble run. You can see marbles move up and down. And apparently I'm addicted to these things, so I bought 7 of them now. So just give me some ideas. What are you guys doing? Are you getting outside? Are you doing a little bit of walking, running? I mean, luckily the weather's turning around. Maybe you found a hobby, spending more time with your family. Let's break the ice and just get a conversation going. I need somebody to break the ice for breaking the ice. So somebody needs to step up for me
Okay,
here.
Deanne is doing puzzles too, 1,500 pieces, driving me nuts.
Mhm.
I'm also working out at the Coon Rapids Dam every possible day.
What do you do out there?
I walk for 3 miles.
Oh, well, okay. I see what you're saying. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a little.
Dam Park. Yeah, I've seen Tom and Betsy down there too.
Oh, do you? Okay. There they are.
Yeah, Jason, this is Tom and Betsy. Actually, this sequestered at home isn't a whole lot different than being retired. The only thing we're missing is our friends, seeing our friends from SD35 at a few meetings once in a while, face to face. Now we're just on Zoom.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, Zoom's got their stock price skyrocketed after this whole thing took off about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, fortunately, they took care of their security issues a little fairly quickly too. Otherwise, their stock price would have tanked.
I was going to ask about that, the Zoom bombing or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard some pretty bad things about that. Sorry.
That's kind of what we've been up to, with walking the dogs and also making masks. And
Are you really?
Oh yeah, ask if anyone needs one.
Yeah, does anybody need a mask? I can make you some.
Map of what?
No, mask.
Mask, M-A-S-K.
Oh, no.
All right, I'll sign off.
Let's see. I see landscaping, so working, watching outside, watching too much Netflix. Yeah, I think that's another common one. Tiger King, I have to say I succumbed to the Tiger King rage and fanaticism. I don't regret any of it, although it is probably the most bizarre thing I've ever watched in my entire life. I'm not necessarily recommending it, but I will tell you, you'll never see anything like it again. Yep, we have people teaching homeschooling children, which is fantastic, but I'm sure an incredible adaptation for a lot of people. Let's see here. Given the fact we are currently quarantined, do you agree with the measures that the governor has taken? How about the fact that it has decimated small businesses? Do you support small business, and if so, how? So that's a good question. And this has come up so many times on Facebook, and I want to take a minute to try to do this in as much of a nonpartisan way as possible, because the truth is we are in a pandemic, and when you're in a pandemic, things are going to suffer, and it's either going to be financial things or it's going to be people, or in this situation, it's a combination of both. I do support the governor's shutting down of the city. I completely understand that small businesses are suffering tremendously. This is, to me, where government does need to step in, and I'd like to see it at the federal level. That's not going to happen. But if we can spend billions and hundreds of billions of dollars a year on military to protect ourselves from those threats, then we should be able to spend that much money to support small businesses and to support families when we go through this. The point of government is to protect its citizens, and we do that by police force. What about the state? Nope, that's a good question. We'll get to that. And that does have to trickle down. A few things that we can do as citizens, and I know that it's not wholly our responsibility, but you could buy, I've heard rumors of people buying like $1,000 gift cards for a restaurant. And basically what that boils down to, it's a 0 interest loan. You're giving them the money up front, you'll get things back for it. At a state level, we do need to reappropriate money to funnel it toward towards small businesses, because if the economy collapses, that's not going to be good for anybody at the end of this. And we can't have that many people in that bad of a position coming out of this. It's going to save lives. And then you kind of have to put on the scale, how much is the value of a life worth? And that's a very difficult conversation to have. And so that might take, that might mean borrowing from the future in terms of a budget at a Minnesota level. I don't have a great answer for that. And again, this is something I've seen quite a bit of. But I do think we're doing the right thing. And because of that, we're going to come out of this much more quickly than some other states will, which is going to minimize the impact to small businesses as well. Yep, very good point, Sean. Thank you. Don't talk. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Sean. Okay, good. Anything else? We got plenty of people on the call.
Hey, Jason, this is Peter.
Yes, Peter.
Back on what we're doing, we finished the last season of Homeland last night. Speaking of Netflix, or actually it was Showtime, but very interesting to see what they did in the last season to kind of look at current concerns and the example of what a bad president can do. But the other thing that's keeping me busy is just working for healthcare within the state of Minnesota. And one of the great things at this point is that we still don't have a single active case of COVID within the patients and individuals that we serve. I think due to really excellent work by the employees and the care that's been taken and the whole approach of the state of Minnesota. So we have a huge vulnerable population that's been very well taken care of, and I think we can be very proud of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you say Homeland?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Has anybody else seen it?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
I'm still on Tiger King. All right, good. Another follow-up question. What specifically will I do differently from Peggy Scott? Why should you vote for me instead of her? She does have the experience, and that is absolutely true. She does have experience. She's also run primarily uncontested up until recent years. The truth is, when you look at her voting record, experience does not equate to results necessarily, right? As people get more experience, they can become more complacent in a lot of cases. So I do understand that I don't have all the answers to the depth that is needed right now. That's what the research team is helping me do. We're definitely getting information that will make us a more powerful force than Peggy. But again, it really comes down to full representation. Peggy does not represent the LGBTQ community. She has voted against women's rights. She's strangely voted against putting the Equal Rights Amendment into the state constitution. That's not full representation. So although we're still building on getting the right answers for every issue that does need attention, we're at least taking everybody's needs into consideration at this point. Whether it's male, female, LGBTQ, across the board, across the spectrum. And that's what's going to make us the more powerful candidate over Peggy Scott on November 3rd. All right, good. Other questions? Let's keep them coming. This is very good.
This is Deanne again. What techniques have you determined you can use during this virus sheltering?
In terms of
you made since you can't door knock anymore.
Right. Well, you're actually on one of them right now. So this has sort of become the new norm, if there is a such thing as a standard norm at this point. It's going to be outreach. So that's why I enjoy these face-to-face conversations. This is as close to me seeing you in person as we're going to get for probably a half a year, you know, maybe give or take, depending on how things play out in the next several weeks and months. We're going to run a very heavy digital campaign. That's the only way to reach out to people right now, which is going to be phone banking, of course. That's still applicable. We're going to run texting. That has some of the best reception rates in terms of outreach. We can run emails, targeted ads for Facebook. I've been taking a lot of training from the National Democratic Training Committee and Blueprint, which is a local organization that trains progressive candidates on how to do targeted advertising on Facebook, on Twitter, reaching out to new platforms like Instagram and even TikTok. Tom, lawn signs will come eventually. I think that will not necessarily be held up by the COVID-19 and the social distancing. We certainly can social distance and put lawn signs up. So that will be coming a little further down. I believe there's a rule that says you can't put lawn signs up outside of 60 days or 45 days of the actual election itself. But that is definitely on our plan. Thank you. So yeah, to answer your question, Deanne, it's just going to be digital. And the idea is we're running 2 parallel campaigns. Right now it's digital. The doors will slowly open up. I do expect to do door knocking if there's not a stigma around it based on what we're coming out of here with COVID-19. But we are running 2 parallel campaigns. The sort of the standard one that everybody's run in the past, which is shown to work, but then also this digital one. And so we need so at a moment's notice, we need to be able to cross over from one to the other. So we're just going to run the digital now, and as soon as we get the all clear, whenever that comes, we switch over and we go back to the door knocking, the literature drops, and everything you'd consider standard for a campaign.
Jason, here's a hypothetical. I've always voted Republican, but I'm not really satisfied with the way that the Republican leadership has been going. Mm-hmm. How can you assure me that you are going to be looking out for my needs as opposed to the needs of just business owners and the wealthy?
And that's a good question. Again, this comes down to full representation. You cannot represent the wealthy and everybody else at the same time. So we need to build everything from the ground up. So that means access to more affordable and better education. That means more affordable healthcare. My fear is we come into this crisis for COVID-19 and we realize the holes in that we have because of lack of healthcare. You have
So does that mean universal health care, like free health care for all?
I would love to see everybody have access to healthcare, not just during times of crisis, but it's the ultimate safety net. You cannot, with any confidence, run a household if you're constantly looking over your shoulder for the next disease or something that's going to set your entire financial status on its side. We need to have safety nets in place that carry everybody and keep everybody above water when the worst of circumstances hits.
Hey, this is Tim. How do you want to pay for all of that stuff?
Well, of course, taxing the wealthy is the easy thing to say.
No. Lost so many people.
I didn't say I was saying it. I'm saying that's the easy thing to say. That was a semicolon, not a period at the end.
Yeah, but you're going to get hit with that question every time, so you have to have an answer for it. You have to be able to speak Republican around here. I know my audience, and you have to be able to say certain things without saying certain things.
Yeah. Okay, that's a fair point. No, that's a very fair point. Again, I got to be honest. I'm going to be open. I don't know the inside and outs of how money moves around at that level, and this is things that we are looking into and going to look into
Look
it's
into
part of
what
the research.
because we are already paying for things. We're paying for emergency care, which is going to be, you know, X times amount more expensive. So you need to look into, you need to have those numbers, and you need to have them on your hip. You need to be able to pull those things out, like you researched it yourself yesterday. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Nope. That's just good feedback. This is very good feedback.
You're going to be getting into conversations with people up here in Andover, and I've lived in Anoka and Andover my whole life, and I have a 6-year-old right now that's really trying to get my attention. But you're going to get hit with a lot of these questions, and you have to have a rock star answer for all these, because if you want to convert people, which I want you to do, you have to be able to hit them with logic that they really can't disagree with.
Yep, that's a fair point. So I'm assuming my campaign manager is taking notes on this. I'm sure we'll have a discussion afterwards. I really appreciate the very constructive criticism here, Sean. This is very helpful to me. Again, we're still getting our feet under us. We are moving forward. We're taking this seriously. And this is a good wake-up call for me. So I appreciate it, because these are things I know now that this needs priority. You know, I can hit the talking points and show you where I stand on it. But once you peel back that layer and say, how are you going to do it? That's something I need to solidify a lot more. So thank you for the feedback on that.
So to answer Timothy's question, how are you going to pay for that, man?
Well, let me get back to you on that.
Hey, hi, this is Jill Bornis. Can you guys hear me? I'm on the phone. Hey, I'm just on the phone. I'm not on video. I just want to piggyback kind of on that topic, because I did a lot of door knocking. Jason, I met you a while back, but I did a lot of door knocking in the last election against Peggy Scott. And one of the big things that connected was healthcare, was talking to people about healthcare. And I think this year the opportunity is even greater, and people see the need even more, you know, about taking care of people's healthcare and figuring that out. And, you know, sorry, I have headphones on. I can't hear myself talk. It's so weird. And so that is true, that there needs to be a good answer for that. And I know that one of the very touchy points, it was really different, Coon Rapids to Andover. And one of the really touchy points with a lot of Andover residents was their property taxes, and how they felt like their property taxes were really high, and all kinds of stuff. Weirdly, I don't know why, but that was a big topic. But so I just wanted to say that I think the healthcare, hitting that really, you know, like you said, kind of having that really easy and out. And I know you know what, you don't need to have a fancy answer for how to pay for it, because obviously that would be the work of the whole legislature to figure that out. And there's people that have gone before that can figure that out, and that's, you know, you trying to gather that info. But I don't know. I guess I just wanted to say that, yeah, I think that's going to be a big topic, and it's, I don't know, and just you talking to people, having been a constituent of Peggy Scott's for a long, long time, I just don't get information from her. So once you get those ideas and those answers, and being able to get that out to people, that's going to be a huge deal, because the communication just isn't there. I try to ask her stuff on Facebook a lot. I've actually been poking her a lot this last month, looking for information from her. So she's been responding to me, so that's nice. But anyway, just keep up the good work. I would say figuring out some answers and communicating with the people would be a big improvement. Thanks.
No, I appreciate the feedback, Jill. And that's something I plan to do throughout the campaign and well beyond, because again, that's part of representation. I do appreciate what you're saying. I think there's a balance between what you and Sean are saying, which is there are people that I'm going to have to influence. I have not won Sean's vote yet. I can tell that just by talking to him right now. And he's challenging me to do that.
My vote's not the one you have to win over. I'm going to vote DFL. That's what I do. You have to win over the people that haven't for the last, 8, 10, 12 years. And that's going to be your biggest push. Because if you don't convert, 5 or 10% of those folks, you might as well pack up and go home. And that's my concern.
Right. No, I was playing into that. That's what I'm saying. Based on your questions to me, I didn't satisfy you as that swing voter, right? That is something we have to be careful of. We worked on the concept of even talking about gun safety and how to frame that properly. I haven't, like you said, we need to work on the financials behind it. I think Jill's right. For some people, it's just realizing that their problems are going to be addressed or thought of. To your point, we're going to have to probably drill a little deeper in on some of these topics as well. Yeah, I think there's definitely a balance there, and that's something I'm going to have to get a little bit more educated on.
Well, and kind of, this is Tim again, kind of going back to my point or whatever, like I was, the reason I ask about that, how are you going to pay for it or whatever, is like, as we watch kind of even in the presidential campaign or whatever, like a lot of people would say things like, we want universal health care, but they don't really have like the actionable steps or whatever. This is how we're going to get it. Right. And I think a lot of people, especially those swing voters or whatever, are concerned, like, yay, they like the idea of universal health care, but like, how are we going to get there? Like, is it gonna be a 1-for-1 swap? Am I gonna be paying for healthcare one day and then I'm gonna be paying a tax to the government or whatever to pay for the same thing? Or am I gonna see an increase in taxes with no increase in my pay? And now I just basically lost money in the deal. And I think that's kind of the thing that, kind of worries a lot of swing voters. And like, even to Sean's point or whatever, and I think the other caller too or whatever, is like, we live in a district or whatever that voted 60% in favor of Trump. And so you're like, all right, so if 60% of the people out there or whatever think hooray for Trump, like those are the people that we have to kind of figure out how to work some of those or whatever to our side. We're certainly not going to get all of them, but we at least have to try for some in the middle. So
yep, and I don't disagree. The other side of that needs to be taken into consideration is 40% didn't vote at all. So we have a whole other resource. Now it's better to flip a vote because it's kind of a 2-for-1 deal. You're taking one and getting one. Whereas getting a new vote is sort of a half vote. You only get one out of it. It's the difference between me taking $1 from you or just finding one on the ground. So we do have another pool to reach into to get more voters. But that being said, yeah, I know that this is a red district and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to flip. But that's why, in a way, I'm excited to have the social media aspect. I think that can bring young people in. I think to your point and to Sean's point as well, is that what we can start doing if we dig into the numbers a little bit more deeply, and this is where the engineer comes in. I had to have the data in it, but there are redundancies. Governments are notoriously inefficient in a lot of cases, and sometimes deliberately so. So, for instance, we have enough food to feed everybody in the country, but we waste 1/3 of it or a quarter of it, and then people starve as a result. Well, those are two. You have a resource, you have a need. It's a matter of bridging those two things together. To Sean's great point, we spend more money on healthcare because people who don't have health insurance are going to the emergency room. They're not paying those bills. Well, that trickles down to who? You, me, and everybody else that that has health insurance. It's absorbed into the health insurance companies. So it's connecting those dots, right? It's a matter of getting the data. How do we connect those dots? Wherever there's overlap, cut the fat. Wherever there's a gap, bridge that gap. And I think there's enough resource within the system to go around. Not that we have a net zero gain or loss, but we can do it in a way that's so much more efficient that we're not just saying, all right, everybody's paying 10% more in taxes, but here's what you get. Let's fix the system from the inside out first, then whatever we have left over from there, we can move forward with and talk about maybe incremental taxation. The one thing I get concerned about is you cannot say the T word. Everybody wants everything for free, and it just, in some cases, it does cost money. Now, this is not going to leave this conversation here. I trust the people I'm talking to. But the reality is, to do some of these things that are very important, it might take a little bit of shoulder lifting from the constituency, right? But I agree with both of you. Let's start from the inside out. Let's clean up the inside, make it as efficient as possible. Then whatever we're left over with, we can negotiate beyond.
But there you go. You can say the T word. You can talk about taxes. It's okay. We're all friends here. And the people that you're going to be talking to, that's going to be first on their mind. So talk about that and say, is there waste? Absolutely. Are there ways to trim the fat? Absolutely. And my plan is to, and then you go into that. And that's what I'm saying. That's how you start to convert some of these folks that are up here in Andover. Because they're pissed about taxes. So go ahead and acknowledge the fact that taxes are high, whether at the county level, the city level, the state level, whatever you want to do. And say, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly that taxes are too high. Here's where we need to cut some different things.
Okay. Well, and I think too, or whatever, like, I think people are kind of concerned, like taxes is one of those like black box things. If I send off a big giant check or whatever to the government and I have no idea where it goes. As far as I know, it went into the same box that Schrodinger's cat went into or whatever. And did it get spent right? I don't know. Like, it might have gone to somebody's desk rather than actually going to paying for, like, you know, poor people's healthcare, which is what I thought it was going to go towards.
Right.
And so I think if we can figure out how to be more transparent with where tax money goes, you can use the tax word, because you can say this amount of your money that you spend on taxes went to your roads. This amount of your money that you spend on taxes already goes to, you know, certain people's healthcare. This amount of your money goes to these places or whatever. And here are some of the people that already use those things that are, you know, living in your community. So that way it's not, you know, I send it off into no man's land or whatever, like, oh, my money or whatever went to go over there to, you know, Betty or Bob or something like that or whatever, and it helped them. Like, that's what we did. Or it fixed the roads that I drive on so that I don't have to take my car to the shop every 2 weeks. So.
Yep, fair point. And that was actually put in here too. We need roads repaired. It takes taxes to maintain. I'm just going to read a few more things off, but thank you for the feedback, both of you gentlemen. I really appreciate it. Peter Miller writes, we have seen the GOP does not care about what things cost. No one asks them how to pay for what they want. New wars, bailing out hedge funds, and because of the big profit margins of health insurance companies. Yeah, and that's the thing. We just, the GOP loves funneling money upward for reasons I'll never understand. I don't think that's something I can necessarily meaningfully speak to at the level of 35B, but the fact that there's silence from the federal all the way down, everybody is in lockstep with this president. So not the whole silence is violence cliche, but basically if you're observing a crime and not acting to prevent it in some way, you're complicit within that crime as far as I'm concerned. Wes Volkanen writes, coronavirus has changed the whole game. State will likely now have a deficit, and I think that's what we're looking at here if we are bailing out small businesses. And again, this comes down to it's a pandemic. These things are devastating, either financially or from a health standpoint, and in many other cases. So you're absolutely right about that, Wes. Too many voters own income flow change. There are many people we cannot tax anymore. They actually need government assistance more than in the past. Focus government spending on three basics: transportation infrastructure, healthcare, and social assistance programs. Means some pieces will have to do it in other ways, higher education, for example. And then, of course, we need our roads repaired. Yep, that takes taxes to maintain. So thanks for all the feedback in the chats, everyone. I appreciate that.
So this is Jackie. So I have a thought on the whole healthcare and as it relates to taxes as like social, you know, assistance programs, right?
Yeah.
So healthier people are, right, if they have access to good healthcare and affordable, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're healthy, they can go to work and they need less assistance, which is less taxes. So I see my point. I mean, you might be paying a little bit for the healthcare, but it's gonna, in the long run, hopefully, right?
No, and that's the thing. And that's, go ahead, Jackie.
And they're
I'm sorry.
keeping everyone else healthy too, as we're finding out in the pandemic. If everyone else is healthy, it helps everyone else. I mean,
right. Well, and that's just the thing. We all do better when we all do better, right? It's just a matter. And you're right. You have a healthier. First of all, you have to put a price on health at some point. You know, we always measure, like the United States measures, and I don't want to get too philosophical here, but the United States measures success by gross domestic product. But a lot of like Scandinavian countries have sort of this happy factor, which is it's not just how much money you make, but how healthy are you? How long are you living? What resources do you have access to that everybody has access to? I'd like my campaign to focus away from money. I mean, it's not going to, you can't walk away from it entirely, but you have to look at the bigger picture, which means how are we making things better as a whole, which is not strictly attached and affixed to income, but you know, longevity, livelihood, health, wellness, security, things of that nature. And you're right. When you have a healthy society, they work more, they play more, they get more involved in their community, and it's, you know, it gets the gears moving.
right.
All right. Any other topics? This is very interesting. I really enjoy the engagement.
So this is Tim again. I had another question. So we talk a lot about the campaign or whatever, kind of working to get more information. And I guess like what's the timeline or whatever from gathering information to having a solid platform to taking it out kind of to the voters just to kind of see how they react or whatever, and then, you know, going into the actual voting season? Like, what is the timeline to gather that information, or how long do you think we'll be in the gathering stage before we actually have a solid platform?
That's another good question. What we're doing now is a lot of opponent research. I'll redirect you to the website. The research team did a great job. Communications, kind of putting this whole thing together. So we did a little bit of opponent research, just getting to understand the district more in depth. This is the next phase, which is understanding the needs of the district and supporters. So that's sort of the phase 2. We don't have a specific timeline for that right now. We're just starting to get the Facebook, the social media off the ground because we can't door knock. We're finding different ways to reach out and communicate. I would say that, and I don't want to put too much of a timeline on this, but as the next couple of weeks we get sort of a solid online presence, we'll start getting that information. We can start sculpting it and you know, have something certainly by door knocking season, if that happens, with debates coming up, which is still a few months out. It's going to be a little bit of time. We want to do this right. We want to make sure we have the right message. We want to make sure that we're on point and consistent. So I'm going to put quality over quantity and say that it probably would be a little bit of time out.
Jason, you say that you want the right message, you want quality over quantity and all that. If I were to ask you to give me a 60-second pitch, because that's more than you're going to get with most people then when you knock on their door, why are you in this? What is it about you? What is your message? Why are you doing this? Why are you running? I mean, sell it to me. You know, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the quick sell, because that's the best that you're going to get out of most doors that you knock on, and I haven't heard the quick sell yet. So you tell me, what is it about 35B? What is it about your campaign? What is it about the current state of affairs? Why are you running?
It's changed. It's become fluid. I was originally running because I saw a need in District 35B. I've talked to people that have lived here. I've talked to people that have run against Peggy. I understand her from the inside out. I know what she represents, and she does not represent anything that has to do with 35B's overall needs and wants. It's now changed to a level of survival within the community. When we go through a crisis like this, it just completely unmasks the need to have healthcare, to have supports and structure for families, for business owners that we don't have. And we're going to continue not to have under her reign, because she does not want anything for anybody that's not going to vote for her. And she will probably work actively against anybody who is not going to support her. So if we're going to be interested in fair representation for everybody in 35B, which I absolutely am, then we need to get her out of office, and we need somebody in that's going to listen to people, that's going to take criticism, that's going to take people that are willing to help, and funnel that into something that's constructive and something that's going to benefit every single person, so that everybody wakes up knowing that they're going to have food on their plate, knowing that they're going to be supported from a healthcare standpoint, and have a job to go to every day so they can support their family and watch their children grow up.
For my 60 seconds, that was way too much about Peggy Scott and way too little about you.
Okay. Well, in my defense, I didn't have anything planned.
Well, I understand, but when you knock on the door, you're going to get questions that you didn't have planned, and you have to have these things. When somebody says,
yeah,
why are you running, or why are you doing this? You need to have just the slam dunk answer. I'm doing this because I believe in people. I'm doing this because I believe that healthcare is a universal. I mean, whatever it is, you have to be passionate about it, and that's what I'm missing. It's like, okay, what I'm hearing is that you're looking for an answer that's going to please somebody, and you're looking for a reason to say that, well, Peggy's bad, but I'm good. But you have to understand that you're talking to somebody that voted for Peggy, and now you're saying that you voted for a person that's an idiot. Therefore, in their mind, they're going to think, well, I must be an idiot too. And you can't really do that. It's not about why somebody's bad. It's about why you are good. And that's what I want to hear. It's like, why the hell is Jason running? That's what I want to know.
Right.
And I'm certain George Green could help you with that message.
Yeah, that's a very fair point, Deanne.
Let me put it this way. I'm sure that that we're going to agree on most policy issues and that we're going to agree on a lot of different things, but I'm not excited yet.
Okay.
I don't have any. Nobody lit a fire under my ass yet for your campaign, and what I'm looking for is that fire under my ass to say yes, no, this is the guy that you want to support. You know that, and I haven't heard that yet, and that's really what I'm searching for. And I don't know if anybody else is out there, but you know, you got to do something to ignite us.
Okay. Nope. That's very fair feedback. Every question. So good feedback in the chat. Thanks everyone for that. Jason's website. Yeah, I'll post some links to the website. No, that's good. And that's, I think we're going to take all this under advisement and start to rework some of the depth of these conversations. Peter, Patty?
Well, this is Peter. Jason, I know we've met several times, and I feel like I have felt your passion about, you know, how you really care about improving your community in general, because, you know, you're at things with MS and so on. I think in this medium, it isn't coming across well, but say a little bit more just about what you are really passionate about.
As a whole, I've always been very invested in politics. It's tough.
Are you invested in politics or are you invested in people?
Well, that's the thing. It's on behalf of people, because I see the disparity between where people could be and where we are right now.
That's what I'm talking about messaging. And I think that your communication person, I think her name was Rachel. I might be lying about that. You guys have to have a strategy. You have to have like a cohesion to your message. And I'm hearing all these different things that are bouncing around. You know, don't say that I'm into this because I'm interested in politics. So am I, and so is everybody else on this chat. Otherwise, we wouldn't be spending our Wednesday night looking at a computer screen after doing it all day. You know, I'm doing this because, and then you gotta give me a boom, man. You got to give me something. I like politics because I like people. I want to help people. I'm a teacher because I want to help people. I don't give a damn about the curriculum that I have. Yeah, it's geography, and anybody could go to a public library and look.
Let's not do that. I think something just happened.
We're hearing Jason, but nothing much else.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. That was interesting. Okay. I guess I don't know if Sean was done with his point, but and if not, please jump back in. But yep, no, this is a good wake up call. Again, I do appreciate the feedback. Let's for now understand that I need some work. Let me reshape this. I'd be happy to meet with you, Sean, personally in the next week or two, and come with you with a nice polished set of answers and ideas that I think are going to make you proud.
Jason, can I suggest something? This is Prad. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. So Sean and Tim, would you guys be willing to maybe not spend too much time, but we would love to keep talking to you guys as we develop the communication and the messaging, right? Because I think this is, we don't want it to be an echo chamber of liberal leaning policies, right? We want to really connect with District 35B. And I think the dissenting voices, I think this is perfect because I actually came into this thinking this is going to be a little bit of an echo chamber, right? But I really appreciate the feedback, and I think we can work together. So my challenge to you, Sean and Tim both, right? Are you guys willing to give us maybe half an hour every other week? Not too much time, right? But just to kind of, as we're working through this, because I think we're all kind of, Jason's new to this type of thing as well. But I think
to give my opinion, I think that I made that abundantly clear.
No,
I'm a teacher and I study things and I talk about things and this to me, this is huge. And I know that my wife is looking at me like, why are you sitting there talking to a computer screen after doing this all day, every day that we've been doing for the past couple of weeks? But it's because I am passionate about it, because I appreciate people. And that's what I want to hear with Jason's message. I want to hear that I'm passionate about people, because that's what's going to convert folks around here. Yep. Talk about those tax dollars and talk about those issues that people care about, and then say, and you know why? Because this is, because I care about people. Give me, give me something. Give me something to get fired up about. Give me something to get pissed about. Give me something to get, anything about, instead of just, well, here's my opinion on something. I get that you have an opinion, but give me passion. Give me fire, man.
Agreed. I think in this call, I think the things that we moved right now, I think we have some good feedback to take back. So let's regroup maybe a little while later. So I think Jason has your email address as well as Tim's, and we'll reach back out to you guys, right? And let's have a conversation. I don't think we need the big group, right? But I think it's clearly important that we message Jason's, and again, Jason needs to be behind this, right? He needs to have this, right? But it needs to resonate with 35B. So I think the feedback is great. Thank you.
Yeah, and me and Jason have talked in the past or whatever for a few hours, so he can certainly give me a call again, or Brad, like you can give me a call if you want to. That's no problem. So, yeah,
appreciate that, and I think we will reach back out to you guys just to kind of make sure we're trending in the right direction, because I don't think.
But I want everybody that's in the campaign. I know that you had a couple people that you've talked about. You had Pratt, and then you had a couple other folks that you introduced. I want them to keep kicking your ass, because that's what the people that you're talking to are going to do. And I'd rather have it be in private, kicking your ass over a computer screen, than doing it at a door knock or in a debate. I mean, you're going to get hit with hard things, and you got to come out swinging, man. You can't come out with a gun that isn't loaded.
No, I understand. We're not there yet. I mean, understand, and I'm going to tell you this again. We don't have all the answers right now. We are getting there. We are 7 months out. We have a good research team. I understand what you're saying. I'm taking that to heart. But this is not the audience I expected this in. So we were planning for this. It's not like this is how I was going to go into the debate come, July or August. I hope you understand that we are evolving, we are adapting, we are progressing. We're not where you need us to be, and that's a very fair point. But we're taking this seriously, and these are things we are looking into as we move the campaign forward. Also, you look really young in your picture.
Must not be my picture, because you should check out my beard right now, dude. It's rocking.
Yeah, the COVID beard. I think that's the new style to rock. Oh my gosh, no kidding. Were you clean shaven when this whole thing started? Also, you're on mute.
That's the real deal right there. I'm telling you, I've been rocking this thing for a couple weeks now.
Did you start out clean shaven a month ago? Nope, he's out. All right, let's see. Let's go to the chats. Sean. Okay, nothing new. Laura. Sean, you kicked yourself out of the meeting, man. Laura mentions, Catherine had me with her story about her daughter on the day after elections. I am not familiar with that story. I don't know if that's something you'd be willing to share with the team, but I'd be curious to hear it, or if there's a video of it somewhere, I'd be curious to see or hear what that is. Dave Voisom says time check. Yep, so we are technically over time. I can do this all night. I have no other responsibilities. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. as Sean mentioned, people have been probably sitting in front of the computers all day for work in a lot of cases. So I'm willing to stay on, but I will give you the 8 o'clock bell ring here. You are free to come or go, but if you want to keep the conversation going, let's keep on rolling.
I need to go.
Well, it's just not a party without you, Deanne, but all right.
I know that. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining.
Yep.
Jason, I just hope that you don't think I'm being aggressive or that I'm being negative or that I'm being anything other than supportive of the campaign. The only way that I can support is to try to, throw things out there and to try to, and get you to kick ass. And so I'm going to keep pushing if that's okay. And
Yeah.
even if it's not, I'm still going to do it because that's just the kind of person that I am. So
no, that's fine. Look, I need to be challenged. I need to be pushed. So I have no problem with that whatsoever. I want to be respectful of other people's time on the call. So again, we take it to point. I think Brad mentions a good idea, which is let's get a smaller group of us together to do this. I need this stuff. I understand that. Like you are a friend that's doing me a favor because my enemy is going to be even more ruthless. So these are things I need to prepare for. You took me off guard. I need to be able to rebound from that, right? So I get it. I'm not taking this to offense. It's a reality check for me. It's something we can build off of. So I would say we move on from it, though. I think the point's been well taken. But there's no hard feelings here at all, Sean. I promise you that.
No, good. I certainly hope not.
Well, I'd like to say thanks for running because Peggy has not represented me in, ever.
Right.
I mean, literally, like I have not once ever in the however many years I've lived here, like for sure, 15 years in this house and, another 5 in the other house. So, and I'm not sure how long she's been in, but it's been a long time. And I have never once received one communication from her. And in the last 3 weeks, Representative Zach Stevenson, he represents 36A.
Yep, I know
which is,
Zach, sure.
like South Coon Rapids and Ripple Park and whatever, that kind of area, I think. I've been getting weekly, if not more than weekly emails from him. He had a video town hall like this last week. I mean, it's ridiculous that I'm relying on a different representative. It's crazy.
No, it is. It is. Go ahead. I think I was actually on that call. Is that the one with the Dr. Smith from?
I don't remember. It was last week, though.
Yeah, I might have been on that call. I was on something of his. I think it was last week, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I was just very thankful. I mean, look, there's someone who truly wants to represent all the people. I mean, he's actually reaching out to constituents that aren't even his. I mean,
right. Yeah, no, I get that, Jackie, and he's a great person. He's been a lot of inspiration. I don't know him very well. I'm not claiming that, I'm not name dropping him, but I have a lot of respect for Zach, and I'm happy that Catherine's actually his campaign manager this year, and I think that's a great 1-2 punch for that district.
Yeah, another thing is you could maybe reach out to, and I put this in one of the comments, but reach out maybe to someone in Dean Phillips' campaign and how he what he did for against Eric Paulson. That was tough.
Yeah, I know. I heard he ran a pretty close campaign and came through as the underdog. So I don't have any contact here. Peter, I think could you please mute your mic? I'm getting a little echo from you through me. So I will start reaching out. We've gotten a couple of friends from within the House of Representatives that have reached out to our support staff. But I think taking it one level higher to Dean would be a really good way to do that when we get their attention. So I appreciate that. I think that's going to be a great resource.
Yeah, because I'm sure he'll have some good, tips for like, how to especially deal with the conservative crowd.
Right.
So, which, okay. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Before anybody logs off, I am posting all the links that I think are appropriate just for if you want to get to know me a little more, you can go to my website, Facebook. But more importantly, we do have a very good COVID-19 resource. If you go to resources for District 35, it's going to show everything you need, whether you're a small business owner, whether you're looking for health insurance, where to go for food, if you want to donate things, where to go for that. We do daily updates. We have videos on how to stay safe during this. So please take these links, bookmark them, check out the website, especially the COVID-19 thing. It is updated, like I said, daily. Keep yourself safe in that regard. We don't have to cut the conversation, but before people start logging off, which a few have already, I want to make sure I get those links out to everybody. I also put links to the state of Minnesota, the COVID-19, which shows where we're at a state level, and then the CDC, which has best practices, when to get tested, how to get tested, how many tests are going out. This is all good information for you guys to keep in your back pocket, because as we start turning the corner and it looks like we're starting to kind of just barely turn the corner, it's going to be really important to keep our thumb on the pulse of what's going on at a national level and at a local level. So take these, reference them as often as you need to, and most importantly, stay safe. So I'll just say that before anybody else logs off. Jackie, thanks for the feedback about Dean. We'll certainly start looking into that as well.
Hey, this is Tim again. How are we doing? How's the campaign doing for fundraising?
We had a kickoff, so everything's been pushed back. So we're a little behind schedule on that. I started phone banking last week, so that's just starting to kick off. We haven't done anything with social media. Unfortunately, because of all the endorsements being pushed back, we're a little behind budget right now, but that's something that we're going to come back to in terms of, like I said, phone banking, social media, just reaching out to friends and friends of friends right now.
Do you know how Peggy is doing for fundraising?
I do. I think she had a lot of spillover from last year. I think she's pretty well set for this year. I know she ramped up her fundraising in 2018, probably because Catherine did such a great job, and I think she tried to match it. I don't remember. I'll have to go to the CFB and get that specific information, but I know she's started out pretty solid just at the beginning, probably left over from 2018. I don't know if Christy knows off the top of her head, and my treasurer, what Peggy's at, but we haven't checked that in a while.
I haven't looked at her January report yet.
Okay.
So I need to do that.
This is just so you know, last year Peggy had to go out and buy athletic shoes because somebody was actually challenging her at door knocking. So, that's what she ended up spending some of her campaign funds for. So, but Betsy and I also want to thank you for running, because Peggy Scott does not represent what's really going on in this community. Having done a lot of door knocking for Catherine 2 years ago, yeah, in northern Andover, what I noticed is, this is pretty much anecdotal, but there are a lot of new families that are moving into northern Anoka County from Minneapolis. And so my gut tells me that Anoka County, Andover, may be changing over and might be more purple than we think.
Okay.
Because there are a number of new families that have moved out of Minneapolis looking for more space with their expanding families, and that's where they can afford to buy. So I don't think we want to overlook the fact that this Andover area is as Republican as it may sound. Yes, Peggy Scott's had a foothold here for many years. She's been in an office for about 10. And last year, Catherine pushed her, and she gained 8 or 9 points on her overall, which is a big deal in this area. So yeah, again, I think what's happening is this may be becoming more purple. And I really think that she can be beat. In fact, she needs to be beat because, again, as you pointed out, all she cares about are a couple of things, and that's it. She doesn't really have any ideas of her own. She pretty much parrots whatever the DFL or the GOP party tells her to do.
Yeah, she definitely walks the party line. She's safe in that little cocoon of the GOP, and that's very clear. We have the votes to beat Peggy Scott. To Sean's point, it's going to be flipping and walking that fine line of purple between blue and red, but it's also motivating and bringing out that youth vote. And I mean, again, when you have 40% of the district not voting, that in of itself is enough to beat Peggy Scott on top of whatever we can get anyway. We have the votes to beat Peggy Scott. We have them. We have to find them. We have to get them. And we have to mobilize them. And that's what we're going to be focusing on, or at least a large part of what we're focusing on walking into November.
And the other part of that is this is a presidential election year. So there will be a lot more voters out.
Yes, and I cannot for the life of me tell whose favor that works in, because it's anybody's guess how this specific 2020 election cycle at the federal level is going to trickle down at the state level, because I think we're going to have a record turnout of votership across the board.
Yeah, but that's the opportunity that we have to take.
Yeah, exactly.
The opportunity is the taking. So. I'm going to sign off.
Okay.
Hey, Tom, Jason, I'm going to hijack your meeting for just a second. This is Mike. Do you know if that same demographic trend is true for 35A?
I'm not sure about 35A. I did not do any campaigning in 35A. There might be some other people from the A side that would have a better feel on that. Although the thing that you're pushing there is the Ramsey area, which I don't think that's turning purple.
I don't know.
No, it's not. But with Ramsey, you're looking at a huge influx of new houses, and you're looking at a lot of new families and young families. And so when we're talking about healthcare and we're talking about education, I mean, that's your wheelhouse right there.
Exactly.
You know, when you're talking about, and I know that, Jason, that you had alluded to a healthcare for all kind of situation, which do with it what you will. But if you say, I believe that every child should have access to healthcare or things like that, when you're talking to suburban parents, moms and dads, and you're saying, I believe that every child should have access to healthcare, you're going to gain a lot of ground on those different things.
Right. So can I just make a comment about that? I talked with my cousin today, check in to see how his family's doing. And about a few years ago, he was laid off from a job, and he had to get health insurance on his own. And he has, let's see, I think it's 4 kids and his wife. And the cheapest thing he could find cost $2,500 a month with a $10,000 deductible. And they wouldn't cover his son at the time because he was in physical therapy. Now that is a perfect reason why we need universal health care for all, because those kinds of costs are astronomical for a family. There's no way he could afford it.
Now, I agree with you, but what I'm telling you is when you're talking to this demographic, instead of talking about for all, focus on one demographic. Talk about healthcare for children. And
Right.
I don't think that you're not going to turn anybody off. There's not a Republican or purple person or Democrat alive that's going to say that, well, yes, I believe that children should be denied health care. So focus on that part of it. Don't focus on the universal health care for all, though my heart's there, and I truly believe that we're going to get there at some point, but that's not your lead-in. Talk about health care for children. And I think that you are going to be able to convert people that maybe you are thinking, well, Bernie's, healthcare for all and universal healthcare and free this and free that. You're going to lose them if you do that. But I mean, healthcare for all, just like education for all, it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's where George Lakoff would come in handy with helping frame that, so that we get it framed properly. So we're not saying universal health care, and we all need to speak the same language. It can't be changed. It's got to be the message. It's just like the GOP does. They send out their weekly bullet points, talking points, everybody, and that's all they ever say. We have to be exactly the same way.
But we have to have the right talking points, and there's not a person alive in this country that's going to say, well, I don't think that children should have health care. So if you focus on that, you don't have to say universal, you don't have to say free health care, you don't have to say health care for all or any, Bernie slogan or whatever, even though it makes a really sexy t-shirt. Talk about health care for children, and I think that you're going to get a lot of people that are going to climb on board with you.
Can I get in here for a second?
Go ahead, Patty.
Patty. Okay. I just want to say a couple of things. Number one, this last point that Sean made, I agree with. I know when the school board election came up a couple years ago, and I was door knocking for that. And, you know, when I talked about the kids, you know, that they were going to be expanding the schools, you know, adding on, getting the kids out of these little trailer huts, you know, that were outside the satellite rooms. Everybody was for doing that and taking care of the kids. And I think that is a good way to go. I don't think it's just a matter of healthcare. I think, you know, and this is where your personal story, Jason, spoke to me. When you talked about how you grew up, you weren't able to go to college right away. And when you did go, it was because of certain programs that were made available to you. And I think if you can extend that to say, you know, I know that there are people out here in this area, you know, who are also struggling like my family struggled. And I would like to make sure that they have, you know, that they have good health care, that they have access to good food, and that when they're ready to go to school, they can without putting their families in the poorhouse. I mean, I think you can just make a packet like that and, you know, and speak from your own experience about how it helped you and you want to help others. So that I agree with that. The whole thing about personalizing it, speaking from your own story. But the part about, yes, you know, making it about the families here and now who are also struggling, they can't say no to that. So that's my 2 cents.
And Patty, I totally agree with you. And just to the point of message, he said, and maybe without that, or perhaps without that, or some variation thereof. Jason said, you know, maybe if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be. Instead of saying maybe, you have to say, and absolutely, unequivocally, categorically, if I didn't have that, I would not be an engineer today. You know, don't say, well, maybe this program was kind of good and waver a little bit. You have to say, without that program, I wouldn't be where I am today. I can tell you that I can categorically say that without the GI Bill, my dad would not have graduated from college and he would not have been able to provide for my family. I'm not going to say, well, maybe without that. You say, yeah, absolutely without that. That's a message point.
I'm going to check the tape on that because I've given that speech quite a few times, and I've always said unwaveringly that I guarantee I would not have graduated college. I would not have moved up to Minnesota, and I'd be talking.
I wrote it down. I have it upstairs.
Okay, and maybe So maybe in this case I didn't. So, but well noted. But typically that is my approach, is to be very succinct and very direct about. This Absolutely is why I'm here.
That, but I mean, I made note of it. I wrote it down in a notebook. Once you said, it's like, why don't you say, well, maybe without that?
Okay. Well, what else is on our mind, guys? We got a little momentum going here. Maybe nothing. We are 21 minutes over.
Yeah, Jason, I think if there isn't any other thoughts, maybe it's good to wrap up. I don't know if that's what you're thinking, because I don't want to drag this out either. I'm sure everybody wants to get some dinner, or I'm sure you've already had your dinner actually. But any other final thoughts, folks, as Jason is running? Like, I think the advice and the feedback is critical, and we will adjust as we go. But I think we still need to stay true to Jason's values and his viewpoints. But the messaging piece, yes, I think the feedback today is fantastic. I think we need that.
Okay. Well, with no final thoughts, going once, going twice. Sold.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Yes, thank you, Peter and Patty. Thanks everybody for taking time to be on the call. We will all be in touch, and I do appreciate you guys taking time to give me the feedback that I need here. So you guys have a great night. Please wash your hands, stay safe, observe social distancing. We'll be in touch. So long.
Bye, guys.